Welcome to Saturday Morning Retro, episode 27, a podcast focused on retro gaming and giving ourselves an excuse to play our collection. Before we start the show, we want to thank all of our wonderful fans who have supported us. And if you want to show support for the Rated G Network, you can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/Rated G for Gamers. You can also find us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Rated G for Gamers. And finally, please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. We appreciate all the love. I'm your host, Dave Rotino, and this is my co-host, Dan, formerly known as Classic Robinson.
Salutations, man. What's up?
Is that how you're going to be doing every episode now? Salutations? All right.
Salutations.
Yeah.
I'm bringing it back. It's bringing it back old school, back to our 212 days.
That's right.
That's a deep cut. That's a deep cut.
Right.
That nobody listening to Saturday Morning Retro understands, but it is retro, technically. It's retro for us.
That's right. It's a throwback, yeah. It's over 10 years ago. It's crazy. 14 years ago. But
it's 15 years ago.
Now, if people are surprised to see a new episode in their podcast feed, or you're watching this clip on YouTube or whatever it is, we have been away from the mics for a little while. Both of us got sick at separate times, which was a little bit devastating. I missed Christmas. I had to do a redo on a New Year's. That was a whole thing. I know you're kind of still getting over a little bit of sickness, and yeah.
No, it's been crazy. I would say last year definitely went out with a bang, and this year came in with a bang too.
Yeah, right. It's just been a little crazy. The holidays are always crazy,
Well, we're a day late and $10 short.
Oh, I was wondering where that $10 went. Well, I was feeling a little bit later.
So this is our December Saturday Morning Retro, our sort of holiday Saturday Morning Retro.
That's right.
You know what?
That's right.
You know what? In some houses right now, you're listening to this and your Christmas tree is still up. You haven't taken it down. So we're going to take advantage of that and still do our holiday show.
Well, there we go.
That's what we're going to do. Listen, we have an awesome show this month, which will be one of two shows this month.
That's right. We're doubling up, baby.
We're going to talk about, we're going to dive deep into our backlog. We're going to talk about Shinobi 3DS and Jet Set Radio Future. But before we get into any of that stuff, we always start Saturday Morning Retro with this time in gaming history, or should I say last month in gaming history at some point.
For the month of December. Right.
Yes, month of December. So December 31st, 1994. And I had to really look this up because I couldn't believe this was actually real. Hotel Mario was released in North America for the CDI.
So, wow. All right. There's a lot to unpack in what you just said. A is a Mario game.
Who said Mario games don't come out in December?
Right. So one, it's a Mario game that did not come out on a Nintendo console that also came out on New Year's Eve. This has the distinction of being the last game released in that year. Why? Why would you come out on New Year's Eve? No one's going to know about it. On a console that was doomed from the start, that, Nintendo famously snubbed over Sony in favor of Philips to do their partnership for CD technology, which what we got was the turd known as the CDI. Just everything about this blows my mind, Dan. This is crazy.
I mean, okay, so I'm less about that and more about Mario and Zelda or on the CDI.
3 Zelda games, no less. 2 starring Link and 1 starring Princess Zelda. And they were each progressively worse.
Were they? Wait.
Yes.
So those games cost a lot of money right now.
Yes.
Right? So if you're a collector, they cost a lot of money. When I first started collecting, I remember seeing that game on eBay for like $100.
Oh, that's a steal because it goes for like quadruple that now. Yep.
I know, and I didn't pick it up. Well, so I'm a little annoyed.
If it's any consolation, it's terrible. If it was the Wand of Gamelon or Faces of Evil, not great. And then there's another one starring Princess. I think the other one is starring Princess Zelda, which is really terrible. Oh God, yeah. It doesn't look good, and the gameplay is terrible. It's real cryptic. Yeah, it's just everything about it is terrible. It's barely a Zelda game. All
right, Dave, let's not talk about the CDI. Let's talk about good stuff that we actually got to pick up. Now I'm going to save my sort of holiday pickups for our January Saturday morning.
Okay.
Because I sort of got them after we were supposed to do this show.
Okay.
So and I got a lot, and I don't want to mix it up with the stuff I got like late November, early December.
Yeah, of course.
So
all right.
So Dave, you get any good pickups?
Last
year.
I did actually. My brother surprised me with his Dreamcast collection. He had a small but vital Dreamcast collection. This was before he got his PlayStation 2, before I got him his Xbox 360 and subsequent Xbox One, so we could play online together. He bought the Dreamcast, and picked up Crazy Taxi 2 from him, Soul Calibur, NFL 2K, 2K1, and 2K2, Sega Marine Fishing, and a handful of other games too. Oh, and an unopened copy of the Sega Dreamcast web browser. So you know that goes for possibly double digits.
The question is, will you try to use it and get online with this thing?
I think there are ways to do it, but yeah, that web browser CD or GD-ROM or whatever it is not going to be useful. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep that. Plus, I think I would need the Ethernet adapter to get the high speed, because I don't think a telephone line is going to cut it.
No, that's definitely not going to cut it. You definitely need the Ethernet adapter. Why don't you just get it modded? You can just get it modded then.
Maybe. Well, he says I haven't actually tested it yet, but he says the disc don't read. It boots up, but the disc don't read. So I have to take a look. This would be my second Dreamcast. I already have a working Dreamcast, so I'm good on that.
I would just try to one of the hacks I saw, because my Dreamcast wasn't kind of working, like the disc, it wasn't reading a disc. And it said, sort of plug in a controller in each port, on all 4 ports, and turn it upside down. And then it miraculously worked. I don't know why, but it actually worked. That actually worked for me.
That's some weird voodoo, but I'm willing to try anything, for sure.
Okay. I got some good pickups, sort of around, sort of like Black Friday, early December. I did, and
lay it down.
This pickup I actually got right before we were supposed to do the show originally. I got Evil West for the Xbox Series X. I picked it up. I said I wasn't going to do it.
I played that at PAX. It's pretty good.
Brand new game. It's an old school style, sort of Devil May Cry-ish style game, from the PS2 era. I liked it. I did flip it on and did like 2 or 3 levels, and I'm like, I can really get into this, and I'll talk about more about that in games I've been playing on a regular show. I did pick up Space Station Silicon Valley for the N64.
What?
I thought I had this. Yeah, I thought I had this.
Silicon Valley. I have never heard of this. Yeah. That's wild.
What? Really? Oh,
well, I'm sorry, Dan. You think you're treating this like Ocarina of Time over here?
No. I mean, first of all, you're treating it like Mario Hotel. It's no Hotel Mario.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying I don't know about it.
This was like one of the, I guess people say, like top 20 N64 games, top 10 in some cases.
Space Station Silicon. Get out of here.
Yeah, I'm serious. This is like on some hidden gems list. I've been wanting to get it for a while.
All right, listen. If it's on Metal Jesus's. And I love you, Metal Jesus. If it's on his top 10 hidden gems, I know, because every damn game is a hidden gem.
Well, if Metal Jesus, if there's 500 games in the system's lifetime, right, and you say maybe 50 are must buys, There has to be 400 hidden gems.
Yeah.
And according to Metal Jesus. But no,
Yep.
I've been wanting to pick that up for a while. I thought I had it at one point, and I guess I didn't. So I added that to the collection.
It was made by Rockstar.
Yes, and that's one of the reasons why.
Now it's starting to make a little bit of sense. Okay. Yeah, all right. Wow, it certainly looks N64 era. Man, I'm looking at that cover. Oof.
I got a Genesis Mini 2 that came in. I paid the import fee, the shipping fee, which is really the import fee. It was like $25 to get that thing shipped from Japan.
Wait, don't we have it here? No? Didn't come out here yet?
No. The only way to get it was to buy it on Amazon, and it gets shipped to Japan from Japan. So it was like $25.
Oh, weird. Yeah.
So yes, it's $100. But once you add shipping and everything, it's like 135. But
right.
I bought it right around Black Friday when it was like 10, 15. No, I got it for $80. So the $20 shipping fee I didn't really feel it. So it was just
if you got it on discount. Yeah.
I got it on discount. I picked up Sonic Frontiers for the Xbox Series X.
Okay.
God of War Ragnarok, PS5. God of War DualSense controller, right? New Borderlands for the Xbox Series X. Mm-hmm. Project Cars for PS4. I mean, I really picked up Project Cars because obviously EA sort of canceled the series. So I wanted to pick up, I wanted to pick up all three. I didn't have them before. So I started with the original Project Cars on PS4. The third one is a little bit more expensive. So because that came out a few years ago, so they didn't really drop. It wasn't a dramatic drop in the price.
Right.
I did pick up some Dreamcast games. The Last Blade 2, Buzz Lightyear, Star Commando. I didn't know Buzz Lightyear had his own game outside of Toy Story.
Oh yeah,
that was wild.
For sure. I don't know if it's anything great, but
it is definitely not great.
It's a game.
It's a game.
Yeah, so that's the best thing I could say about it. It's a game.
I had to pick up the Atari 50th Anniversary Collection. I got it on the PS5.
Oh, yeah. I hear real good things about that, actually.
You hear real good things if you like Atari. If you like Atari,
well,
you hear real good things. I really wanted it because for the Jaguar games, because those are, up there in price, really expensive. And I do have a Jaguar, but do I really want to spend $150 for that god-awful kart racer game that I'm never going to play?
Oh, the BC Racers or whatever? Is that it?
Yeah. Yeah, and I did play it. It is terrible, and I don't know if I want to spend my money on that.
Right. So you could just spend $50-$60 and get the, get the nice collection with, and the presentation in that. I mean, I was watching a lot of people talk about it. The presentation's great. They go through all the history. Like, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Great. I guess my only complaint is I'm like, well, where do I play the game? Like, it's a little, like, it looks great, but it's a little confusing navigating through it. It was like, I just want to play the game. Like, it should be, here's where you play the game. Here's where you play the games, and here's where you look at the history. But they have them sort of mixed in together, and you have to slide through the history to get to the game and stuff.
Right. They do it in a timeline form. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was a little annoying when I was trying to get to the Jaguar stuff, because obviously that was all the way at the end.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is going to stand true, but I got what I think, for now at least, may be the last PS3 releases, official PS3 releases. I got Retro City Rampage DX again, and
oh my God,
and Shakedown Hawaii again, because I got them on the Wii U, I got them on the Wii, now I got them on the PS3.
Wow, all right. What made you decide to do that? You just wanted to have them?
Well, it came out. They announced it like over the summer, and I think they were taking orders like in September or something like that. It came pretty quick too. I wasn't expecting to get it last year, I should say. I wouldn't say this year. It's still weird. It's 2023. So I got them within like a couple of months of ordering it. So we'll see if those would be the official last PS3 releases.
Well, I mean, probably not. Probably not. No, because everybody's been putting out stuff. I mean, there's people putting out Atari games that are technically new releases. So
I know, but we're gonna always get like games like this, right? Because nobody wants to develop for the PS3.
Yeah, well, it was it was definitely different to say the least.
It's a little bit easier to develop a game for the Atari compared to like trying to deal with that.
Yeah. Weird to say, but also true.
All right, Dave, let's shift gears and go to our top 3. And I love this segment. We do this. We try to do this every other month, unless we have something really good planned, right? Well, we'll double up. And I thought our sort of holiday Saturday morning retro, our special top 3 was pretty cool. It was a good idea. You came up with it. I agreed, and I jumped on it. It was our top 3 video game Christmas gifts of all time.
Yeah. I had to think about this a little bit because, like, my cutoff for getting video games as gifts was like around the Super Nintendo era. So I don't want to give the bag away necessarily, but there was a point where I had to start buying my own games, and my parents are like, "You're too old for these video games." I'm like, "No, I'm not." And now, 30 some odd years later, I'm still buying video games. So
now,
take that, Mom and Dad.
To mind you, we're not listing, or at least I didn't take it this way. I didn't list like, oh, well, this was the best game I ever got as a gift, right? Like I took it from like a memory standpoint.
Memorable moments, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
more of a memorable moment. So,
okay.
So I just because I named this game in the order I'm doing it in, it has nothing to do with the game itself.
Oh, well, all right.
So I want to go first. Go
ahead. Go ahead. Lay it down.
I've been excited. I've been jumping to do this. Even though we were sick, I still wanted to try to do it, but we both sounded terrible. So I've really been jumping to do this. So here's my top 3 video game gifts of all time. And number 3, I'm going to start with the PlayStation sample disc. Okay.
Okay.
The
Explain.
The OG PlayStation sample disc.
Explain.
I don't remember if this came with the system. It probably did.
I think they did. Yeah.
It probably did. And I've talked about this on the regular show back earlier when we first started. But I played the crap out of that. Like that was like the holy grail for me. Like even though I only got like the first level in Crash Bandicoot, or the first 2 levels of Crash Bandicoot, I played the heck out of those levels. Okay, I played the heck out of it over and over again. Extreme. There's an extreme skateboarding game.
Oh, Too Extreme. That's right.
Too Extreme.
And its sequel, 3 Extreme.
I played. Oh, well, the sequel obviously didn't come out yet, but I had the 2 Extreme. I think they had like 2 or 3 different levels on that disc.
Yeah.
And I played the heck out of it. I just remember. I knew this was it. Like I got like this in a game that I can't even remember, to be honest. I don't remember what the game I got with the system was because I played the heck out of that sample disc.
Right.
And
right.
I remember just staying up all night trying to perfect every level of every game that was on that disc.
Right. Like, now that you mention it, right? Because you don't necessarily always, like, with the PlayStation, I think, era, I mean, you got the sample disc, but you didn't get a full game that came with it, right? Like the Super Nintendo days or the Genesis days of getting a game with the system, that's gone. That's gone now. So I get that, and and there's like at least 12 to 20 games on there, and you get a little cross section, or you get some sports games, maybe some fighting games, maybe some shooters or whatever. You get to play a little bit of everything. So, okay, yeah, I get it. I get it.
Well, I guess it's more memorable for me because I remember that I don't know if it was a weekend or what. Whenever I had time, I remember day and night I wanted to be perfect. I got I was on the skateboard and 2 Extreme, and I was like, I'm gonna nail this level. And, Crash Bandicoot, I was perfect, and I couldn't just be perfect once. I had to be back to back to back, right? Because if I had a friend to come over, and we're playing, and if I ever got Crash Bandicoot or I ever got 2 Extreme, I know I want to crush it. And this was the only thing I had, by the way. It was this and another game, which I can't remember. I wish I could remember the other game. but that's why it was so memorable to me. So, and I was so happy that I got this and not the Saturn.
Oh yeah, you definitely dodged the bullet there. I'm not trying to throw shade at Saturn. It just didn't last very long, especially in the States. Yeah,
correct. My second memory, my number 2, I'm gonna give it to Super Mario Brothers 2.
Oh,
I really wanted this game like so bad. I remember this was the first game I ever like lobbied for. I got the NES for my birthday. I didn't get it for Christmas. I got it for my birthday. And I always tell the story. I woke up and my dad's playing Duck Hunt. Right?
Yeah.
I was like, "Can I play?" And he's like, whoa. Let me see if I can get this damn duck." So I remember just watching him play. This was Twitch before Twitch was a thing. I'm sitting here watching him play, enjoying it. Can't wait for my turn. So I had a NES, and I really wanted Super Mario Brothers 2. Everybody was talking about it. Everybody at school's talking about it.
Yeah.
And I got it, and I went ballistic, and I ran, and I got the NES, and I immediately, and this is the bad thing that we had because it was conditioned in our head. Before I even put the cartridge in to play, I started blowing it on it because you're like, no, I want it to play the first time, so I'm gonna blow on it. Get this good air. Let's get this good air in it, and then boom. Now we know it's bad for it, but at the time it was like the magic of making games work. You had to blow on it.
That's right.
And my number one memory is me getting back into gaming. I bought myself for Christmas.
Oh,
well,
okay.
I was Santa Claus that year because I bought everybody something for Christmas, and I said, you know what? I don't want to be the only one not opening a gift.
Right.
So I bought myself a PS3, and one of the games that I bought was the first game I actually played on my PS3 was Metal Gear Solid 4.
Oh, that's a classic.
Yes. I wrapped all the gifts myself.
Okay.
I got a new TV, too. I bought 2 new TVs from Circuit City. We were at Circuit City together.
Oh,
I bought 2 new Sony TVs. Yeah, I was rolling in the money back. I was rolling in the money back then. I got 2 new TVs. I got the PS3, and I told the story. I think I told the story to you, maybe on the show. I had 2 PS3s by accident because I ordered one online, and I had to sell one to my boss. So, and I sold the one with Uncharted. So I had the one with no game. So I had to buy a game.
Right.
The game that I bought was Metal Gear Solid 4, and that was like the first game I ever played. First like popping game because I had the stupid. They came with some digital game. I can't remember. It's still on my PS3. I can't remember.
Okay.
Because it
wasn't Flow, was it?
Oh man, that was gonna kill me. You know what? I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get the name, and hopefully for the next show I'll have the name. Because I remember.
I feel like it was Flow, where you were that little like single-celled organism, and you kept having to eat other things to get bigger and bigger.
Could be, maybe.
Right?
Yeah, that could be it. But this was the first disc I popped into. It was Metal Gear Solid 4. And I have fond memories, and this slowly but surely got me back into gaming.
Right. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, okay. I got some. I think maybe they're a little bit different than your picks. And this includes PC and video gaming, because I was into both. I know you were into both for a little bit, but I had some pretty solid memories. I remember it was in 1996, I think, Christmas 96, or maybe it was 97. I think it was 96 though. And my brother got me a copy of Command & Conquer Red Alert, the real-time strategy game, and it was in the Command & Conquer series, so they already had the original Command & Conquer, and then there was Command & Conquer Red Alert, which was like an alternate World War II history where, like, what if, like, the Russians were in power, and it was the Allies versus the Russians. And I remember specifically because my computer at the time wasn't strong enough to play it, and I really wanted to play it, so I think at some point in time, I got some upgrades to that computer to make the game work, kind of, but it still wasn't good enough, so I could like edit maps, but I couldn't actually play the game. So that was kind of funny. But I eventually got a powerful enough computer, played the hell out of that game. And it was cool because they gave you 2 discs, and they Westwood at the time, which is now owned by EA or whatever, they specifically said, use one for yourself and give one to your friend. And one of them had the Allied campaign, one of them had the Axis campaign or the Russian campaign on it, but you could use either one of them to play multiplayer online as long as you had the disc in there. So I gave it to a bunch of my friends. We all had copies of it, right? And we were all kind of playing online. It was great. It was great. So good stuff. Big shout out to my brother. It was a great game. He saw the cover and he's like, "Oh, this looks amazing." It was like a tank coming over the hill with like, the little like night vision scope with like the targeting thing on it. It was just a really cool cover. And he's like, "Yeah, no, this game looks great." Me and him played the hell out of that. So, that's my number 3. My number 2, funny enough, is the year that I got my first IBM PC. Because before that, I had a Commodore 64. So, and that was my brother's Commodore 64. That got stolen. When we went on vacation. Some thieves broke into our house and took it. And we had to
I remember that story. You told me that story early on in the show when we started doing the show. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had to get a replacement. We had to get a replacement. Luckily, the insurance covered it or whatever. But that thing was ancient, right? This was 1994 that I got my 486 DX33 with 4 megs of RAM in there and a CD-ROM drive. It was crazy. And my neighbor came over and hooked it up for me, and he hooked me up with a ton of free games. So I got Wolfenstein 3D, and I got Lemmings, and I got like a couple other games, and I was like, all right, I'm good. I got this thing stacked. So those were definitely some great memories. And my number 1. I racked my brain out of all the gifts that I got when I got Mario 2 or when I got Dragon Warrior or whatever else. There's a ton of
all these honorable mentions. Okay, all right.
Yeah, well, a lot of big honorable mentions. The number 1 gift was Christmas '87. Finally got an NES, and my parents got it for me. And it was the only time that my grandparents came to visit for the holidays like that. We usually went to them for Thanksgiving, and then they wouldn't travel for Christmas. They're like, nah, we don't want to travel. It's a whole big thing. I remember my grandparents being there, and I opened the NES, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. And I opened up another package, and that was The Legend of Zelda. So the NES, The Legend of Zelda, it was like the challenge set or the core set or whatever. So it just had the 2 controllers and Mario Brothers, and then they got me The Legend of Zelda on top of that, which one of the best games of all time, the original. Love that. It was my favorite in the whole entire series until Breath of the Wild. Had a lot of great memories with that. It was crazy. And I remember, because we weren't really tech savvy. My dad wasn't that tech savvy. My brother was a little bit tech savvy. And I didn't know what I knew now. So we didn't really know how to hook it up or where to hook it up. And we were like, So my parents didn't want it downstairs. So they're like, all right, we'll hook it up. We'll hook it up on our TV in my parents' bedroom. All right, we'll hook it up here. And then we started playing it, and then the TV blew.
Wow.
Something blew inside. The thing turned off, and I was crying. I'm like, oh, are you kidding me? So we had to
wait. I thought you were going to tell me you took more time trying to figure out how to hook up the NES than playing the game.
Oh, it took us a while. I think we got it set up that day, I think. But yeah, like the TV ended up blowing out. I was so upset. And then, I think like a week or 2 later, we like finally got it fixed. But, yeah, man, that's good memories, those 3, and yours are really great too. I support those picks, and I know they hold a special place in your heart. These hold a special place in my heart. Really good memories.
No, that was a good idea, a good segment. Like this, I kind of think this was my favorite top 3 of all time.
Shoot.
Maybe we'll do a top 3 of our top 3s of all time.
There you go. Our top 3 segments. Top 3s.
Top 3. Yeah. All right. So why don't we take a break? And when we come back, we're going to dive deep into our backlog, and we're going to talk about Shinobi 3DS, and you're going to talk about Jet Set Radio Future. we're back. All right, Dave, let's dive deep into our backlog and talk about Shinobi 3DS and Jet Set Radio Future. All right, let me start. I want to start. I'm a little rusty. We haven't done this. I feel like we haven't done this in so long.
Yeah,
right?
it's been a little bit.
It's like I got to jump back on a horse, which is sort of apropos because in Shinobi, Shinobi is known for horses, right? Especially their horse sequences. So Shinobi 3DS. This is an interesting game. I picked this game because I really wanted to do something a little bit different. I know I played on the GameCube with the last game that we talked about, like Luigi's Mansion, and I wanted to do a handheld game this time. And I was like, oh, Shinobi, right? I have it. I've been wanting to play it for a while. It's sort of an action game, at least that's what I thought. So I was like, you know what? Let me check it out. Let me boot up my 3DS, and not to mention it gives me an excuse to turn on 3DS before everything shuts down to see if I can salvage and pick up anything. Right. Because I've been meaning to do that with the Wii U, 3DS, and I haven't done it yet. I didn't realize how old this game was. This game came out November 15th, 2011 in North America.
Okay. How old did you think it was?
I thought it was a little bit, maybe like 2014, maybe, or something like that. I didn't think it was like 2011. Mm-hmm. I mean, the Wii U wasn't even out yet.
The Wii U was a year later. That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah. It was originally developed by Kryptonite Games, which is now known as Glue Mobile LLC. They were bought up and swallowed by a mobile gaming company.
Okay. It's interesting.
So I think previously they did the Captain America and Iron Man games for the 3DS. I'm not sure. Okay. I think they worked on those games as well. It was published by Sega, released on Nintendo 3DS. It's an action adventure hack and slash game, and I played this on my original 3DS. So, and before I start, I didn't do any of the challenge maps because I didn't use Street Pass, which they had a thing in Street Pass where you collect coins and then they can unlock some different levels, challenge modes for you, right? But can't really use Street Pass. Can't use Street Pass and play with other people.
Oh, yeah. Is that not working, or is it just that nobody's carrying around their 3DS anymore?
I'm going to say both. I'm going to say a little bit of both because I didn't want to even try to attempt to try to see if I can get Street Pass working. But I'm going to say it doesn't work. I could have sworn it's shut down. I could be wrong. And if I am, you can add us on Twitter or on Instagram or on Facebook or leave a comment or on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
But I think I'm pretty right on this one.
Okay. I would believe it. I just wasn't sure. Yeah.
This was the last game in the series, actually, officially.
Right.
Before this game, the last two games... before this game, the last two games were on the PS2, Shinobi and Nightshade.
I remember those. Yep.
I do own Shinobi. I'm looking to pick up Nightshade. It's on my list now. I thought I had it.
Is Nightshade a little pricey?
More than... It's the price of a normal new game right now.
Okay.
I'm trying to see if I can get it for a little bit less. Right. Okay. See if I can try, but not a lot of people are selling it, at least on eBay, because it's not on Luki Complete, and I really want to see if I can get it because I actually checked it out to see what it was about, and it's a game that I definitely would play and would talk about on Saturday Morning Retro. Mm-hmm. But this was like a return to form for the series, right? Because they were fully 3D action games on the PS2. This was sort of, a return to the 2D roots, side-scrolling action game. Mm-hmm. Sega originally wanted to release this in September of 2011, but due to the slow, 3DS hardware sales, they postponed it until November of that year. So, if you remember when the 3DS originally came out, it did have a slow start.
Yeah, it wasn't a huge library. People were kind of like, I don't know about this 3D. Yeah, it was a little rocky. Yeah. It was a little rocky.
Yeah, well, you know what would have helped? If they would have just released this game like they originally intended. I actually was watching a preview that GameSpot did, and they said they have a firm September release that year. I was like, Nope. No, that didn't age well. Not really.
Yeah.
That didn't happen. The story takes place in Japan back in like 1256. You play as Jiro Masashui, the father of Joe, the main protagonist in the original arcade games.
Oh, neat. Okay.
This is a prequel.
I was gonna say, yeah, or I was gonna ask.
While Jiro is in the middle of training, he's like sort of stopped. He's in the middle of training with like another master, and he's sort of stopped, and he has to go, save his village. They alerted him that his village is being like attacked by these like crazy army of crazy ninjas called the Zed, and he has to stop and go save them. So it's a normal like, hey, you gotta go save the world type story, right? I'm just here training. I'm a master. And after about 2 levels, right, you defeat the boss, and then you defeat the boss, and your village is destroyed anyway by like these exploding by a big explosion, big blue explosion, and then you're sent 800 years into the future, 2056, where the Zed have taken control of the world, and you have to stop them. What a story! That's a crazy story.
Wait, so the Zed is the name of the invading force? Okay, I never knew that. All right.
Yes. I think when I sort of first started the game and I got to know the story, it really got me excited about the game, because I'm like, oh, okay, cool, because I'm going to be playing, in old time Japan, like back in the day. Hundreds of years ago. Imagine the art style for that. And then I'm going to be playing in the future, right? So, kind of present day, right? 2056 is right around the corner. It's not that far away from us.
Yeah, it's true.
I was like, oh, okay. This could be kind of cool. I could definitely, really get into this. I mean, graphically, it's a 2.5D cell shaded graphics.
Oh, yeah.
And I love the fact I just love the attention and detail that they put into this game, right? Especially you come into the future and you have I don't know what this is called when I don't know if it's a scarf, but he has like this long red piece of his attire that.
Oh yeah, I always thought that was a scarf. I think it is like
some kind of scarf. Well, you're a white ninja. Right, so Jiro's a white ninja, and he has this red. We'll call it a scarf for now, but obviously, I don't know what it's called, so I apologize. It's this red scarf that just sort of stands out. So, as you're moving in as you're moving and attacking, that piece of red still sort of sticks out, so you know where you are. And I kind of like the little attention to detail, the character details, the models, the character models, the different levels.
Right.
I'm sort of in love, in love with the look of the game. I know at the time the reception, people didn't like the graphical style, didn't like the cell shaded graphics.
Oh, really? Huh.
But I'm gonna say, looking at it from my eyes now, I think this game looks amazing. It looks great, especially on a 3DS. And when you put the 3D in, it works. I mean, this is sort of an early game in the 3DS life.
Yeah, because
it utilizes that.
Not every game looks good in 3D or even needs the 3D. So it's interesting that this game came out early in the life cycle and also was like a good use of 3D. Cool.
They tell the story through cutscenes, like anime cutscenes. It sort of gave me vibes of Infamous, the original Infamous, right?
Oh, sure.
Didn't like the way they were telling the story through sort of comic book movie sort of scenes. That I can understand why they didn't like it for a console game, but for a handheld game, I thought it worked perfectly. So I thought it was excellent. So I really was digging just the art style, the look, the detail of this game. So I was all in. And I was also all in when you actually turn the game on. You have four difficulty levels. In the first 2 easy difficulty levels, we'll say, right, you get unlimited continues.
Oh, that's right up Dan Robinson's alley.
You know it is. It is. I love that part. When you get to the other two more difficult modes, you don't. I think you get like 5 or 6 lives or something along those lines. You definitely don't get unlimited continues.
Right.
You have the normal, because this is a ninja style Shinobi game. You get the wall jump.
Of course.
You get to climb walls. One of the biggest point of contention of the game, and this is, I'm going to say it early, is one of the parts that I don't like about the game is there's no blocking. There's a parry system, right? So there's a parry
that makes
system in
sense.
place
Yeah.
of blocking.
Yeah.
But everybody from the previous Shinobi games were used to blocking, so they wanted to change it up and sort of have you parry. It gets a little difficult as you get through, different levels, and the enemies get a lot harder and it gets more difficult to parry, especially when a lot of enemies, sort of on the screen attacking you. That block would have came in handy more than parry system.
How tight is the parry window? That's what I'm kind of curious about. Do they give you enough time?
You gotta be precise. In the beginning, it seems like you can do this, right? But as you go on in the game, and then the bosses and different mid-level bosses, and then different, enemies get even tougher as you go on. Yeah, parrying is like it seems impossible.
I got you.
But overall combat is kind of smooth. I love, when you're doing your normal aerial attacks and throwing your knives, and they have a combo system in the game, right? So, which is awesome. I'm not gonna lie, they made this game sort of kind of like in the arcade style, where they have like over, I think about 60 different achievements that you can unlock, because it's all about, they're really heavy into scores, right? Like it's like arcade, where you really got to play scores to unlock you can unlock achievements, and then achievements that you get are skins, playable characters, and artwork. So they really wanted you to come back and play the game over and over and over again to get different achievements. But this is a normal Shinobi game. Like, you have your crates where you can get your health, replenish items, and they do have a bomb. Sometimes you get tricked and there's a bomb in it. You got to jump away before it blows, right? Just like in the early Shinobi games in the arcade. They do give you a grappling hook that you can hook up to the ceiling, or like a rope that's hanging over you, so you can get over a pit, right? I wish, again, I know this is 2011. I was kind of hoping that like I could do it whenever, but it's, they give you indicators of, hey, you see the arrows pointing up, so yeah, I got to jump up here and use my grappling hook. It's a little bit more handholdy in that sense, right? Where it's like, it's not, you can't use it everywhere in the game. It's just like, no. They tell you can use it here. This is what you can use.
Sure.
But it is a game of that time, so I have to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
You could do stealth kills. I'm gonna be honest. Stealth kills you don't really need to be honest.
Oh, okay.
I feel like they sprinkle them in to break up the combat a little bit.
Sure.
Right.
Well, I mean, you are a ninja. Like, it fits with it, but
it fits with it. But
you're saying it's not needed.
It's not needed in the sense of, it's not like all your enemies are turned around. Right? Like, it's not like you could really sneak up. There are designated people you could sneak up on, and they sprinkle them throughout the game. It's not like I could sneak up on everybody. And that's, and then they give you a prompt to do a stealth kill. So if you do sneak up on someone and you just do a normal slice them, or throw a dart, a katai on them, right? You
kunai,
won't get kunai. There we go, kunai. Thank you. You don't get a high score, right? Because the purpose, they made this game sort of like an arcade style, where you have to do these things to get the high score. You get 4 magic powers, just like magic powers in the old games. You get 4 different magic powers here, which are in use on the bottom screen. Remember, you have the 3DS, you have the dual screens, and that's always on the bottom screen. you can only use it you can only use one magic spell per level, right? So they won't make you invincible throughout the whole level. I will say, which is understandable. I could say that.
Yeah.
One of the things that's exciting and annoying at the same time is they do mix it up, and they have on-rail stages in between. They have about 4 or 5 on-rail stages in between normal stages.
Okay.
Where you're riding the horse.
I was going to ask, do they have the horse riding? Yeah.
Or you're riding a horse, you're on top of a jet, because ninjas jump on jets. Or you're you're jumping car to car, right? And you either are fighting enemies that are on horses, on the jet, or on top of the car, or you are trying to avoid blast attacks that you can't survive, right? Because if you get hit, you die with one of those. So I think the horse stage, which does start off in the beginning of the game, I guess that was there. I thought that was really cool because it sort of gives you're not really now side scrolling, you're sort of in an angle, right? So you're sort of in an angle so you can see sort of what's coming ahead of you, right? Because you got 3 different lanes to move the horse into.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So you're not doing a traditional 2D side scrolling on these levels. You're sort of in an angle, 3D angle, where you can see what's coming in front of you. You have to move out of the way or jump over a tree that's fallen on the floor. And then, the guys will come from behind, and you have to, obviously hit the enemies and move out of the way at the same time. So those were cool and frustrating in certain points. And I think they go on a little bit too long, to be honest, especially the one where you're jumping car to car and you have to battle. You have to battle like the tank. I think it went on a little bit too long. I had to do too many different sequences, especially if you die and you didn't hit that checkpoint. You got to do the whole thing all over again. Oh. But once you get the pattern and you hit a checkpoint, then it's like, oh, okay. So if I die, I go back to the checkpoint. I go back from this point. So that's good. It's not brutal, old school brutal where you got to do the whole thing over again. They do have checkpoints. I'm not gonna lie.
You sound a little pained, Dan. What's up?
One of the things that I thought I would enjoy turned out to be one of the things I hated the most, and that was the platforming.
Oh.
That was the platforming. Yeah. I know this is going to be hyperbole, but some of the platforming levels felt like early Mario Maker levels online that somebody made to torture you.
Woof.
Right? Because it's like you got to try a lot of them you got to try to avoid the spike.
Yeah.
Jump down, hold on to the wall, jump over, double jump, hit the ceiling because there's spikes down there. So you can't just jump and fall and then run. And then you got to jump, slide, try to get the ceiling, double jump. And by the way, the platform that you just hit is about to disappear. So you got to jump again. So it could be a little tedious and brutal and unfair, especially when you get sort of to the last level where you're trying to jump and then the enemy's jumping at the same time and knocks you off, and then you go down the pit.
Now, can you see ahead of you a little bit, or do you just kind of go blindly into it and you have to kind of figure it out by like trial and error?
You can see ahead of you a little bit, but what it sucks is when you're jumping down.
You can't see what's down there. Yeah. So you don't know.
Yeah, so your instincts have to take into play. And this is where it's like old school brutalness, right? It's like you're gonna die a bunch of times, and you got to figure out, oh yeah, I got to jump, I got to hit the wall, don't hit the ground, hit the wall, and then double jump off the wall, and then try to hit the ceiling, and then swing over and slide under, and it's like that sequence drove me insane. I just said, screw it. They give you enough energy or health to where I said, I'll take the hit. I'll take the hit. It's not like it's a 2-hit combo. You actually do get a life bar.
Right.
So I was like, I'll take the damage. Screw it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
The music, the sound, I don't want to say it's awesome. It fits the narrative. It fits what you're doing, right? I feel like I'm in old Japan. I feel like, I'm sort of like techno Japan when I'm in the future, right? With the sound effects and the bombs and the horses. And like, I feel that it fits what it's doing. It's just not memorable. Like, it doesn't stick with me. I can't, in my head right now, think of one song or score that I heard in the game that stuck with me. I I can't. But when I turn the game on and you hear it, it fits whatever narrative you're doing, whatever level you're playing, if that makes sense.
I 100%, 100% get what you're saying. Yeah, you wouldn't want to listen to it on its own, but it fits what you're doing at the time for sure.
So yeah, this is a different. I'm not gonna lie, this is a very, very difficult game.
Mm-hmm.
This game is a handheld Souls game, in my opinion. Yeah, maybe it's not that hard, but it's definitely, once you get past like the first like three, 4 levels, it gets increasingly harder. I want to say I know I said some negative things about the game, but the thing that I hated the most is some of the levels are like mazes, and I hate that. It's like you have to figure out where to go. There's one part sort of towards the end. I didn't actually beat the game, but I did make it to the end where you're trying to figure out where you have to go, and you're going through these stupid doors and it's not working, right? You don't know the sequence of the doors that you have to go through. And you can sit here for like an hour trying to figure out on this level where you got to go, and you get lost.
Okay.
But you can get lost I got lost in the train level, which is early on in the game. It's like the 4th level, and I got lost there because I didn't know where to go.
Huh.
So it's not a straight point A to point B. You do have to do some, you do from point A to point B and then up and then backtrack back to A, but you're above, right? So I think they try to make it a little bit more complicated than they need it to be, right? And it makes the level seem longer, and that sort of makes you want to just say, screw it, I'll go play something else. Like I'm not in the mood to try to figure out where to go.
Right. It's padded out to just be, it's padded out for padding's sake.
On top of the difficulty, right? The game is definitely hard. It doesn't matter if you put it on easy. Putting it on easy, and I tried this. Putting it on easy just gives you unlimited continues. It doesn't make the game easy.
Right. It just allows you to keep trying over and over again. Yeah.
Yeah. So the game is hard. It's definitely, I mean, again, I may be exaggerating when I say it's a Souls handheld game. It's definitely not that hard, but it's NES hard. It's difficult, right? So if you like a challenge, a big challenge, a handheld challenge, then this game definitely is for you, and the game holds up for you. The game doesn't hold up for me, but it definitely holds up for you. And I can, I'm aware where I can recognize this is more of a Dave game maybe than a Dan game, right? So it definitely does hold up if someone like Dave that likes a Supreme Challenge can come in and play it. So, like, if you like Ninja Gaiden and NES, this is the game for you.
Yep.
This is definitely a game for you. So this game did come out during Metacritic days. Obviously, the game only came out on 3DS. I don't think it was ported anywhere. I don't think you could play it anywhere else. But it did get a Metacritic score of 69. You got to use a score of 70. Got to use a score of 73. Usually, when we do these Metacritic scores, you could find at least one outlet that gave it like 100 or a 95.
Right.
The highest score came from XGN. Don't know. I've never even heard of that outlet, and they gave it 85. They gave it 85 at the time.
85 is good.
Yeah. And there's an outlet called gameblog.fr.
Right.
They gave
French,
it a 20.
most likely. Okay.
They gave it a
20. Woo.
Yeah. And it was a bad translation, so I'm not going to read I'm not going to read an excerpt from. I did find it, by the way. It's still, the review is still up, but it is in French. Okay. Right. So this excerpt I got is sort of a bad translation. I tried to clean it up a little bit, but instead of doing that, I'll just give you the highlights. They basically said they think the difficulty was more a result of bugs than careful or creative level design.
Okay.
It was a general, and its general atmosphere is poor at best. And that's a direct translated quote. So who cares? The only thing that we care about is what we would give it.
That's right, Dan. What would you rate this game on a scale of 1 to 10?
So, I would So the scale of 1 to 10, the one that the sort of scale that we use, and I know we use, I don't know, I guess it's the 10-point scale, 5-point scale, because we do go, 0.5 if needed.
That would be a 20-point scale then.
20-point scale.
I mean, kind of, yeah, if you want to think about it as each kind of increment is a point in a way.
Well, then, honestly, anything below, I would say like anything that's a 6, sort of like a 6 and above, like you could play it, right? It's playable, right? Anything like 5 or below, you shouldn't even have anything. You shouldn't have anything below. It's just like, it's not a 6, it's below, just arrow down, right?
It's trash.
Right?
It's trash on the Dave scale.
It's just trash. It's just trash. Because I love everything about this game, with the exception of sort of the difficulty and just the overall difficulty of the game. It made it impossible. I rage quit. I almost threw my 3DS a couple of times.
Jeez.
I'll give it a 6.5.
Wow, 6.5. Okay. So playable, but it's got some issues.
I recognize it's not a game for me, right? But the game is beautiful. In my opinion, the game is beautiful. I like the game. I thought it was an interesting story, and I don't want to, because I know you may want to play this game, I don't want to spoil the end, because I did go and look, because I made it so far. I need to see how it ended. I'm
actually curious now, so yeah, please don't spill the ending.
Yeah, well,
I'll twist or whatever it is.
Yeah, well, I'll say this: this may be the last game in the series for a long time.
Oh boy. Okay.
So
there's ways to retcon that if I think what you're saying is what you're saying.
Well, let's just say it's a prequel. So, Terminator is real. But you want this game complete, you can get it right now at Lukey Games for $35.97.
Okay. It's not, it's not super cheap, but also not super expensive. All right, good deal.
So, Dave, tell me all about Jet Set Radio Future, because I'm actually super interested in this, because I never played this. I do own it, though.
Have you played the original Jet Grind Radio or Jet Set Radio? Okay.
I've played it, yes, on the Dreamcast.
Okay. It's essentially the same game. It's a reimagining of the first game. But I'll get into that. So let me give some info on this. Came out in Japan February 22nd, 2002. North American release only 3 days later, February 25th. And then March 14th, 2002 for the PAL region, which is very interesting. You never see these things so grouped together. It was almost like they had a simultaneous worldwide launch.
Not at that time. Not at that point in time.
No. It's developed by Smilebit. They did the first one. Published by Sega, right? This is the Sega IP. And it was released on the Xbox. That's where that begins and ends. Just like Shinobi, this game was never ported. It was never re-released. Didn't come out on PlayStation 2 or anything else. So you can only play it on the original Xbox hardware. It is a 3D semi-open world action game, I think is how you would describe it. Rollerblade action game, if you want to get a little more specific. Graffiti rollerblade action game, if you want to get really specific. And I played this on the Xbox, original Xbox hardware. So yeah. And like I said before, it's a reimagining of the first game, the Jet Grind Radio in the States, or Jet Set Radio as it was called in Japan. And it's real interesting because this game came. Well, good.
So this is like I know it was a reimagining. So it was like a sort of like what Metroid Fusion was to Metroid, right? Essentially.
No, Fusion was different. You're talking about Zero Mission. Yeah.
Zero Mission. Yeah.
Yeah, because like it expands upon the original game in every way. A lot of the characters from the first one return with some new ones. The story is essentially the same, even though they swap out the villain and they kind of change things around a little bit. But yeah, it's essentially the first game kind of redone on like newer hardware. And it's interesting, right? So you think like Sega and you're like, oh, okay. And then you're like, oh, well, Xbox and Microsoft, it's a Western company. It's like, well, how did that all come about, right? Why didn't this get released on, why didn't this get released in the Dreamcast before it went south? Or if not the Dreamcast, the PlayStation 2 or the GameCube, right? So this was at a time when Microsoft wanted to buy Sega. You know, we talked about it at length, right? Microsoft wanted to make a presence in Japan. You know, they were kind of new to the console market. They were struggling in America, let alone Japan, right? Japan, they were doing terrible. Nobody wanted the system. It was way too big. The controllers were too huge. You know, that's why they had to put out the S controller, which was made for normal and smaller sized hands. So that kind of helped a little bit. But yeah, like they didn't get to buy out Sega, which we know they didn't get acquired, right? Obviously, Sega's still independent. But they did broker a partnership. So we got this game. We got Sega GT 2002, which was a combo pack of this and Jet Set Radio, funny enough, and that is the copy that I played it on. So you get both games on one disc. But Panzer Dragoon Orta and Toe Jam 03 and a couple of other games that were exclusive to the original Xbox, most of which have never been ported. They kind of got stuck on the original Xbox, which you know, was a little upsetting because I don't necessarily know how the other games did. I don't think the other games did great. This game was a commercial failure, and it's sad. This was the last entry in the Jet Set Radio franchise, not counting the remaster that came out on Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 for the original game, which is great. That was in widescreen. They kind of cleaned up a lot of the they like cleaned up the resolution and like a lot of the textures. It's a really good port. Very good game. And they got I think they got all the music back for that too. Well, but anyway, this is essentially the last game in the series. It only sold 80,000 copies in the US in the first 6 months. Less than 30,000 units in Japan, and that's obviously due to the poor adoption rate of the Xbox. So they didn't have a big install base of those people that actually had the Xbox. Only a small set of them wanted to pick this game up, even though this game is very Japanese. It's very kind of, you know, into kind of graffiti culture. You know, it's a lot of things, right? It is very much a Japanese game. It's oozing with kind of style and charm, and it wasn't enough to kind of get them over the hump. So I think that kind of sealed the deal there. Although when I was doing some research on this, I found out that there was at least 2 attempts to try and revitalize this franchise. There were some pitches out there from some companies. I think the last one was in 2017, and Sega was actually interested. They like saw their pitch at GDC. They saw their work. They were in talks, and I guess it kind of fell through. So who knows? But anyway, little backstory on this version of the game. Right, so you start off as a random rollerblader / graffiti tagger. You are Yo-Yo, and you get recruited into the GGs, right? The GG gang, right? They're a gang of rollerblading taggers that kind of go around this new Neo Tokyo. They call it Tokyo Toe, right? It's kind of futuristic Tokyo, and yeah, basically you're like kind of like jockeying for turf around Tokyo and all these different neighborhoods. So you kind of clash and go up against different gangs. And you also clash with the police too, right? Because, you know, obviously law enforcement's not going to want you tagging up the city with your kind of your mess as it is, right? They really don't like graffiti. I think that's in any culture, right? They're just kind of very much against it. They don't see it as art, even though it is art. But that's like kind of a whole nother conversation. And yeah, like basically you go around like neighborhood to neighborhood, trying to like, you know, take over that turf. And then in those adventures, like you'll end up finding other people that you can recruit to your gang if you want. Some of them are optional, some of them are part of the storyline. And then what brings it all together is DJ Professor K, who was in the first one. He's awesome. He is the narrator. He is the DJ. And he kind of gives you updates on like what's going on. And he's also the radio DJ, like pumping out the hits for you. So it's really cool. And he is featured prominently in the first one. Also in this one with a little bit of a makeover, but still just as cool for sure. And then the general conceit of the gameplay, right, is, like I said, you have to like take over the rival turfs and all that. So, you'll kind of be like, oh, they'll say, oh, we have to go to this neighborhood or whatever, or like you should investigate this area, and then you'll bump into a rival gang, and then you'll kind of tussle with them, right? You'll start covering their graffiti up, and then sometimes you'll have to like chase them down and like tag them with graffiti to like kind of knock them out. Eventually, the police will come in. What's up?
Was this Splatoon before Splatoon came out with graffiti instead of ink?
I mean, kind of.
Yeah. It give you like Splatoon vibes a little bit, right? Because
I mean, for sure. Yeah. They have a similar style energy for sure. Gameplay wise, it's a little bit different because you can't just go spraying everywhere. You have like specific spots where you can spray, and then specific spots where you need to spray. So it's a little more confined in that way. It's a little more like, kind of puzzly actiony where you have to like figure out where to go. But for sure. Splatoon definitely took some notes off Jet Set Radio. Most definitely. Maybe like a super proto Splatoon, you could kind of consider this game. But yeah, like, and every like neighborhood is different. They all have their kind of own style. Some of the things you need to do are a little bit varied. Sometimes it's a race. Sometimes you're battling with the cops, or you're battling with the rival gangs. A lot of the time you're kind of going around and figuring out where the graffiti spots are and like tagging their graffiti. So that's kind of cool. And then ultimately, once you get to the end of the game, you fight the head of the Rakaku group, who is also the mayor of Tokyo, who is kind of controlling all of this, Goji Rokaku, right? He ends up being like the final boss. And then once you do that, you bring back peace to Tokyo To, just like you did in the first game, and then things kind of return to normal, and you don't have this chaos being kind of brought down by the powers that be. They do have the create a graffiti mode back from the first game, so you can make your own tags. It's limited, but like it's kind of cool. You get a little like basic paint editor in there, and you get some stencils and stamps and whatever that you can put on there. You can make some interesting stuff, and there is like a ton of graffiti that you can pick up. You'll see these little like spinning icons, and they're like different tags that are made by famous graffiti artists. Most notably Hayes, I think. He was kind of big in the scene back in the day. They contracted him for the first game and also for the second game to do a lot of the graffiti and artwork. There's some beautiful stuff in there for sure, and it looks even better on the Xbox, because like the Dreamcast, like you noted, Dan, that Shinobi was cell shaded, right? So this game, well, the original Jet Set or Jet Grind Radio was the pioneering game of the cell shaded technology. They were the first ones to do it. This game, with the power of the Xbox behind it, right, much more powerful than the Dreamcast, it is a boon. Because everything looks super sharp. You get the 480p progressive. The draw distances are a lot better. The textures are a lot cleaner, not as muddy as they were on the Dreamcast. So everything just kind of pops. Like the color's really good. The worlds that you go around in are like a lot bigger. So all of that, amazing. And in this game, they added a 2-player head-to-head mode. So you can do like tag mode or race. There's a couple different things you can do, and they give you like a couple of different multiplayer maps. It's not fully fleshed out, but I mean it's fun. You can kind of pick up a controller, have a little bit of fun with it. So like that's kind of cool. I will say, and now this is 2001, right? We've had dual analog sticks for. This is 2002, I should say. We've had dual analog sticks since like '98. Right? PlayStation's been out for at least a year. Dreamcast has been out for a while, even though that only had the one stick on there. PlayStation
came out in '95.
PlayStation 2, sorry.
Oh, okay.
PlayStation 2.
2001, right? 2001.
2000, because the Xbox was the next year in 2001. So
and then Dreamcast was $99.99. Yeah.
Right. So we've had 3D games for a long while. I feel like we've kind of worked out the controls. You know, the left stick is to move and the right stick is to look. That's typically how things go. This game does not use the right stick to look. I mean, it kind of does, but you have to be stopped. You can't move and look at the same time. So the way you have to orient the camera is to use the trigger. I believe it's the right trigger. And that'll recenter yourself. Camera's not great, and you can't swing it on the fly. And this is a game that's very fast, and you're like kind of playing in the big city, so you really need to like know where your next jump or move or platform to grind on or rail is, and it makes it tough. It makes it unnecessarily tough. So yeah, it's not great. It's the worst thing about the game, and it really kind of mars a great aesthetic and just kind of a great feel, right? Because you really want the gameplay you really want to be in it, right? You want to be these guys like rollerblading around and tagging and whatnot, and it just kind of like mars the whole situation. But anyway, the big difference between the first one and this one, the first one, when you went to go tag, you would use the analog stick to do motions like you were actually doing graffiti, which was kind of cool. This one is more trick based. So when you do the graffiti, it's just like a one tap to like hit that mark, right? And you can kind of hold it down if it's like a long segment and you're kind of like grinding along. So they added in like the tricks, so you have to like time it to the beat, right? You go dun dun dun, and you'll keep doing tricks, and that'll get your score up, and then that's how you like unlock certain things. Like every area has a bunch of different. They have a bunch of different challenges, and then those challenges will open up different things around the map, different areas to go to, or like secret graffiti souls, which are like the different types of graffiti you can have on the walls and all that. So that's like kind of the new thing over the original, and I think it's better. I think it's better than the first one. Like the way you stop and tag is a little bit clunky, so I kind of like this. The other big thing about this game, right? It has great visuals. The soundtrack, right? 30 tracks. I think it's about 30 tracks in here. I'd say it's double from the first one. We get some remix tracks from the first one, but we get a bunch of new stuff. Returning favorites, right? The two composers that did most of the music for the first game, which is Richard Jacques and Hideki Naganuma. They return for the sequel, as well as the Latch Brothers, Scapegoat Wax. They were a one-hit wonder. They had a very good song called Aisle 10, which is in here. Beastie Boys, Mike D, and Ad Rock make some appearances with some of their side bands. I think BS 2000 and something else. Chibo Matto and a handful of others. Really good soundtrack. It's hip-hop, it's breakbeats, it's indie rock, and it all just works. Like, yeah, it's really cool. And it's
now we see why we haven't got a remake.
Yeah, a lot of people speculate that the licensing rights and whatnot are like a little bit tough. Like even with the original game too, it was mostly Richard Jacques and Hideki Naganuma, and I think maybe one or two others. For the North American release, they added in 10, I guess, American-friendly tracks. So there was some new metal. There was Rob Zombie in there. This band called Cold. Cutmaster Kurt. He had a track on there, and I think a handful of others that were specific to the North American one. But they managed to redo that one. I don't know, and they got those songs in there. So yeah, I don't know. But anyway, so those are really the highlights. The graphics and the sound. Really highlights, and they still hold up today. Everything's great about it. Love it. And obviously the negative is the controls, man. I mean, that that really marred and I forgot about that too. And I kept wanting to use the right stick, even when I knew I had to use the trigger to like recenter myself. I kept wanting to use the trigger, and like coming to like a full stop and like looking around is tough. Cause also like it, even when you like want to go and look at something, you have to like look and hold. It doesn't stay, right? So like it always like goes back to neutral, and then it like centers yourself and you're looking forward. So when you're trying to like see what's up in the like say the right-hand corner, oh, it's so difficult. And you're trying to balance on this tiny little platform, right? That it took forever to get to. So that irks me. That irks me. But it's still good. All right. So if I'm gonna go ahead and recommend it to somebody, I would say yes, try this game out. Oozes with style. It still is like really fun. You can kind of get used to it after maybe a half an hour. You know, you start to recognize, okay, this is how this is, and you deal with it. You deal with it. As far as the reviews go, this was out at the time of Metacritic. A lot of my games weren't, so we do get some reviews. Overall, 88% of Metacritic, very high. People like it. 8.4 by the average user score, which is very good. Best of the best comes from GamePro with a perfect 100. I was surprised. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say this game is 100, but GamePro does what GamePro does. The worst of the bunch came from Entertainment Weekly, giving it a 67% out of 100.
Entertainment Weekly actually reviewed games back in the 2000s, early 2000s?
Yeah, man. Everybody and their mother got into game reviewing at one point in time. It's crazy. Now, were they qualified to do it? Did they know what they were talking about? That's a whole nother story. But they gave it a 67. Now, if you want my review of it, which is the most important, if you want my score of it, this is tough. But I got to be honest. I'm going to give it a straight 8. It's an 8. Game's an 8. It's good. It has some flaws, but everything else makes up for it. All right, presentation is on point, graphics are on point, sound is on point. If I'm going by the GamePro thing, it's 5s across the board except for gameplay, which is like a 3.5. All right, there you go.
So you basically have to get used to the controls.
You definitely do.
Once you get over that hurdle, which could be a big hurdle.
Yeah.
This is a game that you can enjoy because you love the aesthetic, you love the level design, you love the characters, and you love the music. Most of all.
Yeah. It's engaging. It gets you really into the world, makes you feel like you're there. It's good stuff. Yeah. Now, if you want to get this game on Lukey, oh boy. This game complete, Lukey does have a copy of this. You can get it for $106.97. 3 digits. 3 digits for this game. Now, if you want the more affordable combo pack, which I own, which is Sega GT 2002 and Jet Set Radio Future and some demos, you can get the combo pack for $8.94 complete. So there you go.
I have two. I also have that as well.
Now, I used to own the original with the foil cover, and that was the game that made me want to buy the Xbox. Halo 2, obviously. Halo was awesome, don't get me wrong. But Jet Set Radio Future, when that game dropped, I was like, I walked into the electronics boutique that I used to work at, and I said, give me the Xbox and give me Jet Set Radio Future, and I'm going to be a happy camper. And I was. It nice. Came with the S controller. It was great.
Nice.
Yeah.
I definitely want to, will I now pick up Jet Set Radio Future by itself? Who knows? You have to stay tuned. Maybe I will add that to my collection as well.
All right. So yeah, that about wraps it up. That is episode 27 in the books, folks. And you guys know the drill. We love everything that you guys do. We appreciate that. I love that you're sticking with us and you listen to the show and doing all the good stuff that you guys do. If you want to interact with us, and we know that you do, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Rated G for Gamers. So, please listen, like, rate, review, and subscribe. And as always,
keep gaming.